of us has an important story to tell. The story of our own life experiences. When we share the story of our own life experiences with others, we come face to face with history. Today on Face to Face with History, we're honored to have a longtime resident of Evansville. With many accomplishments under her credit, including founding the African American Museum here in Evansville, she worked for many years with a major advertising agency, and even had a local TV show. Currently, she's the editor and publisher of Our Times newspaper. We're delighted to welcome our guest, Sondra Matthews. Sondra, welcome to Face with History.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. To start off with, tell us a little bit about where and when you were born and about some of the remembrances of your early years.
Well, I was born in Evansville, Indiana, in a place called Lincoln Gardens. No longer existed. It's now Lincoln Estates on Lincoln Avenue. But I was born there and stayed there for the first 10 years of my life. Also started school at Lincoln Gardens. They had their own daycare at Lincoln Gardens back in the 1940s, and that's where I started my education. And from Lincoln Gardens, I went across Lincoln Avenue to school. At that time, Lincoln school was complete from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And then later it was changed to 5 through 12. And then that was when Lincoln Gardens, we kind of expanded a little bit, but Chestnut Walnut Elementary School was open for black kids. And I attended there for 5 years before going back to Lincoln in the 6th grade and graduating from Lincoln High School in 1961. From 1961, I went to Indiana University.
Very nice.
And stayed a couple of years, and then left and went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that's where I started working with newspapers in Milwaukee.
Very nice. So what were some of your early interests as a child?
Well, basically riding bicycles, and I love swimming. We had Miller's Pool, and my oldest sister was a lifeguard there, and it was a place where we learned to swim. We had swimming lessons in the mornings and swimming in the afternoon, and then always we could go to Carver. Carver had everything. You can get your vaccinations. They had a medical clinic for newborns and young kids. You can go there for recreation and carnival. We had everything at Carver. If we didn't have it at school, we had it at Carver. If we didn't have it at Carver and school, we had it at church. I went to New Hope Baptist Church, which is just another block away from where I lived in Lincoln Gardens. And so it was all together, like a really big village that we had. And so that's where I grew up, and that was the kind of fun that I had.
Very nice. So you know a lot of local families around the area still?
I think I know them all. I think I know them all if they started in Evansville.
Okay.
A lot of people have come to Evansville since I came back. I came back from Milwaukee in 1972, I think 72. And at that time I continued my education at the University of Evansville, where I got my degree in journalism.
Oh, very nice.
But I do think I know most of the people. And if I don't know them, they know me.
Yeah. So out of all your interests, you got your degree in journalism. So what struck you to keep writing? Like, where did that passion come from?
Well, I guess one of the things about me is that I've never liked being oppressed. And so I have a long history of protest.
Oh, the rebellion. Yes.
In my life. Anytime somebody would tell me you can't do this for one reason or another, that always gave me incentive to try it and do it. The other thing I think that contributed, we did not have any boys in my family.
Okay.
We had all girls. And so there was never what boys do, girls do kind of thing. We did what we did. My mom was very independent. And so we painted the walls, we took out the garbage, we did everything. I never knew that girls had a place.
Right.
Because we didn't have any boys in our family. So I think that contributed a lot. And then I love to read. My mother was a reader. And so I took that after, because really growing up, television didn't come into my life until I was a teenager. By that time, my mom had established reading in my life, so I love to read. And so from reading, I learned a lot.
That's awesome. So I know you shared a little bit with me behind the cameras, the passion that got you going to start the African American Museum. Would you like to share with us where that came from?
Well, yes. As I told you, I graduated from the University of Evansville, so I still had some connections. I still participate. But one other protest type activity was in the 80s. Women weren't encouraged to be pastors in town. And so there were a group of women, black and white, and we used to meet at Sarto Retreat, the Catholic diocese, and nurture each other about going into a deeper area of religion other than the nuns and teachers and that kind of stuff. And one day, one of the ladies from U of E said that the religious department was going to take a trip to South Africa. And I said, oh, I'm going because, you've been seeing all this stuff about Nelson Mandela.
Yes. And
he had been to the United States and raised money, and that whole movement was so akin to our own civil rights movement that I just said, I'm going. I didn't have a penny to my name, but I said, I'm going. And so I was able to go raise money from people in the community. A number of people gave me money, said, well, we can't go, but we can help you go. So we got to South Africa. One of the things that struck me is that when we went to visit some of the museums were all about Europeans. And of course, South Africa, the majority of the people in South Africa are black and African. And the only thing you saw about the black Africans in the museum was either them enslaved with chains and stuff like that. It didn't hit me right then until I came back home. And when I came back home, the newspaper said the city was going to demolish Lincoln Gardens. And I said, oh no, they can't. That's my home. That's my whole life. They can't do that. And so I thought, well, we need a museum. I said, because the museum downtown has nothing about black people in Evansville, it still doesn't. And I said, we need to be able to tell people about it. I said, our children 25, 30 years will never know that we were ever here.
Right.
If they tear down everything on Lincoln Avenue, they're going to tear everything down. And so I began the process of moving in that direction of trying to get an African American museum. And God put everything in place for it to happen. I take no credit. God put everything in place. I had been a member of the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, so they already knew me. And so when I made the presentation, they were receptive to it to some extent.
Yes.
But in everything's a lot of politics that you have to handle. But God put everything in place and it came out that way.
Right.
Even the fact that Mrs. Roosevelt had been to Lincoln Gardens at one time when they were first building Lincoln Gardens. As I said, it was one of the federal projects, housing projects after the war. And Eleanor Roosevelt had, and I use that as my little, stick to tell people that this is something we ought to preserve.
Yes.
Eleanor Roosevelt
was here.
That's it. Yes.
That's amazing because even at my age, I had no idea that the type of community that was around Lincoln Gardens at that point in time.
Right.
And a lot of people still don't know and grasp the concept of how important that area is for.
Especially if you have never visited the African American Museum, you don't know about it. And a lot of people haven't. Many people think that they know what's in there. Yeah, they just think they know, but they don't know what's in there. You have to go in to see it and know what's in there.
Of course.
Yeah.
So who are some of your inspirations?
Well, I have a lot of local. My teachers, now I think most of us would say this from Lincoln School, our teachers made a big difference in our lives. And the thing about it is that they were not only one generation teachers, They were my cousins, my nieces, my mom, my dad. And so everybody knew everybody.
Right.
And you really couldn't get away with much because you weren't anonymous. So, but the teachers always wanted me to try stuff. And I always said yes. I don't know why, but I always try to meet their expectations. If they wanted to go on a tour, go to the library, go whatever, contest, play, what I was always there for it. So trying to meet their expectations, I think, made a difference. My pastor, the late Dr. Reverend Brown Sr. at New Hope Baptist Church, he always pushed us, get an education, and he always tried to make a way for us. And Dr. Ira Neal, he's a member of my church, and he was pushing, he tried to make a way for so many of us with so many opportunities. And Dr. Newsom, he's passed, and he would give us all free exams. If we were going to go to college, we didn't have to pay for any physicals. And those kinds of things kept encouraging all of us to do the best we could do.
Of course, of course. And there's one more story that I would love for you to share, because it's so, there's just such an inspiration there whenever, someone tells you you can't do something and then you show them that you can.
Right.
Because that's kind of how our time started, correct?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Our times was another one of my protest activities.
Yes.
Well, as I said, I was a member of the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. And we wanted to hire an African American woman. In fact, we did hire an African American woman to be executive director. And that had never happened in Evansville before, that a black woman would run a major agency. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that Evansville was against black women being executive directors or heading up stuff. So, but some things began to come in, started picking on her, and started extra oversight and stuff, that they really wanted her out. So, not knowing how bad they wanted her out, I was up for the fight.
Of course.
I was up for the fight. And so, so the daily newspaper, which is a mouthpiece for the businesses in this, the business and the ones who run everything, they use their space to go behind the scenes, go to her hometown, go to the last place she worked, and find out stuff. And they would just have full pages on this one black woman, trying to get her out. And we never could tell our story because the daily newspaper was using to tell that side of the story. So we said, we'll start our own newspaper.
Yes.
Because I had experience in doing newspapers. I had worked as a columnist and a reporter in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I had been for about 13 years. And so I said, well, we'll start our own newspaper. And I had a friend that I met when I was at IU. Her auntie ran a newspaper in Peoria. And I contacted him, and she said, yeah, we'll print your paper for you. So every Friday, we travel 5 hours to Peoria, Illinois, to print the paper and wait until it was all done and bring it back. And because we were paranoid, we didn't want anybody to know what we were going to print or what our paper was going to say before. And so that's when we started in the Inner City Reporter.
Okay.
It wasn't our Times newspaper then, it was the Inner City Reporter. And we did that for about a couple of years. And my company, Keller Crescent Company, allowed me to take half days to work on the paper and do some things. And I think they thought, well, she'll get over this. But I didn't.
Yeah.
So they said one day, they said, listen, you're going to have to make up your mind. You're going to either have to come back to work full time or you're going to have to go and do what you're going to do in the community. And so I said, well, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go do what I do in the community.
And you made the right choice.
It turned out to be the right choice.
Yeah.
And so I went from that. Everybody else went back to their jobs but me. And so I got my nephew. My nephew graduated from Memorial. And so I said, you can come and work for me, And then we started in our times, we started like a news magazine type thing, just running off the copy machine. That's how we started with that. And we found that there was a lot of people in the community that wanted to buy it. and supported it. And so from there we went to newsprint. In 1985, we went to newsprint, and we had our paper printed in Mount Vernon, Illinois at the Democrat. And we spent about a year doing that, and then we found out that we can get closer and go to Henderson and have it printed. Mount Vernon was like 16 hours, and Henderson was just over the bridge. And so from there, the Gleaner has been printing our paper for, 20-some years now. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome though. Such motivating stories and inspiring for everyone. So before we wrap it up here, is there anything that you would like to say to the future generations? Any advice that you would give us?
Well, I'll give the same advice that was given to us. Education makes all the difference in the world. Get all the education that you can, and then if you put God with it, you're sure to be successful in your endeavors. But also listen to people who've already been where you've been. Don't be just reject stuff out of hand. But like I said, I always wanted to please my adults in my lives, my teachers, my recreation leaders. I always wanted to please them. So whatever they wanted me to do, I tried to do it. And it turned out to be a good thing because I got exposed to things and places and people I never would have.
Of course.
Yeah.
So thanks for staying with us on another show of Face to Face with History. We want to thank Sondra Matthews for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.